Better have that head on a swivel, baby. I mean, these strays are just flying all over the place here for the Minnesota Vikings and the 2025 National Football League season. Welcome home, ladies and gentlemen. This is 9 to noon.
Hell no, we're going to go to playoffs next year. I'll tell you that right now.
The Vikings.
I'm confident that we'll be world champions. That's what I've said right from the start, and I'm still confident of that.
You want to change the conversation, win some games.
Vikings. The Duke! The Duke! The Duke is on fire! What? We got Duke Shelley back too? Oh. Morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Tuesday football. Whoa! This is the Tuesday football feast. Better have your head on the swivel. If you haven't looked at social media or the internet over the last 20 minutes, and you love the Minnesota Vikings, and you want the Minnesota Vikings to secure some new players, boy, do we have some doozies for you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to 9 to noon, and let's begin here. Welcome back to this guy. First down for Atlanta, trailing by 14 points, 6.5 minutes to go. First down from the Vikings 25. Cousins hit by Harrison Smith as he throws it, and he's intercepted. A beautiful one-handed interception in the end zone by Byron Murphy Jr. That's number 6 this year for Byron Murphy Jr., which means he has the most interceptions by a member of the Minnesota Vikings since Anthony Harris in 2019. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you for the chat, Byron. Yes, sir. We're going to roll over here with the drive-by and chat with Andrew Van Ginkel. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, Byron Murphy Jr., welcome back to the Covenant chat, ladies and gentlemen. 9 to noon began to get a little loud about it last week. About the, well, this has to be a 10 of 10, doesn't it? I mean, this just like absolutely positively has to happen. And it did. Byron Murphy Jr., the red carpet was rolled out for him, cornerback, Minnesota Vikings. 3 and 22 per was unfurled for the corner, and that corner is going to contest a familiar face this season when venturing to the Cappuccino capital. 3rd and 1 from the 7, 3 receivers right, Naylor to the left, Jones to the left of Darnold out of the shotgun. Lions come with a massive blitz. Sam, back right of the end zone, incomplete.
I can't believe this.
He overshot Jefferson. He overthrew Justin Jefferson back right of the end zone, and JJ was wide open. Well, this has to stop. This is ridiculous. Oh!
Excuse me while I whip this out.
And finally, for now, with the highlights, in case you missed it last night or this morning, this guy has entered the Covenant chat. Kirk under center, goes play action, looking over the middle, and he's hit again, and he's going to be sacked again. A 3rd and goal sack, this time by Jonathan Allen, the third-year product of Alabama. So Cousins sacked 2 times out of the previous 3 plays. You know, is everybody happy? I mean, have your free agent palates been satiated to this stage of the equation? There absolutely can be more. Why? Because we finally have cash. Isn't it nice having a little walking around money this time of the year, doesn't it? Put a little pep in your step as you head into the Love Covenant on a Tuesday. And good morning.
Good morning. There have been many times in my life, specifically when I was a child, I'd get dropped off at the mall and I'm doing window shopping, but I got nothing in my pockets. I got enough for a taco at Taco John's in the food court.
Love it.
And that's about it.
You know,
picture the idea of being able to walk around, say, I want that, and just freaking buy that.
Yes.
And that's what Kwesi's been doing over the last 36 hours.
Alas, there's more. There's a lot more.
Yeah.
And just from 20 minutes ago, Kwesi is emptying the chamber. Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, general manager for the Minnesota Vikings, recognizing it's cool having cash. It took some uncomfortable decisions to get said cash, but we got cash. And because we had Cash last year, we got Grenard and Cashman and Van Ginkel and Aaron Jones and Nordo. We woke up to Jonathan Allen being in the mix, but we have two more doozies to share that are hot off the X machine. Just this morning, what has happened this morning with the Minnesota Vikings?
Yeah, so we heard the news yesterday. Ryan Kelly, former Colts center, he joins the Vikings on a 2-year deal, $18 million. A lot to break into regarding that with our current center and what the future holds there. But Ryan Kelly entering the fold. Well, hold on. He hasn't played guard in his NFL career, at least in games that count. So we still need a guard, I think. Well, enter Will Fries, PA. Will Fries becoming the newest prize for Vikings fans on a 5-year deal. $88 million. Damn. $88 million, 17 and change a year.
It's a 5-year piece. Just let me get this out of the way quickly.
Yeah.
FIDA, Fairness and Deals Acts. All right, the numbers that we see, for the most part, is that the real money within the deal has not been unfurled.
The language is...
Thank you.
Yes, correct.
So, ProFootballTalk.com, Mike Florio, if he's so inclined, he gets the skinny, as do others, on the particulars with deals and like when you can get out virtually scot-free or when you get stuck or like, guarantees and things like that. So these numbers are these numbers. And that's cool and everything because it's like we ain't into balancing the ledger. Other people do that. We're into saying, Murphy back in the Covenant chat. Sam goes to the Cappuccino Capital. He's JJ at starting quarterback next season. Jonathan Allen is in the mix. Ryan Kelly's in the mix. You just mentioned Will Fries. And just when we thought we had the 9 to noon open constructed, Jeremy Fowler from ESPN unfurled a rumor with another beef-eating defensive lineman potentially joining the Covenant. For more, here's Nordo.
If you were worried about just doing the math, how many fat guys in the middle can this team sign during the free agency period? You like hearing about Ryan Kelly. You like and maybe love hearing about Will Fries, and you're very intrigued. Skol Bama, says Blake Barrett, says Jonathan Allen signs a 3-year deal. How about Javon Hargrave, PA?
Oh, my gosh. Above average.
And the news is as follows, that no deal will be signed today because I believe technically he is still a member of the San Francisco 49ers until the league year starts tomorrow. And he then will be officially released. But then at that point, apparently, a deal has been struck. He will be in purple.
I wonder if when the general manager reports to media relations or executives with deals anew, he's like,
Excuse me while I whip this out.
we got a new one for you, boys and girls. What do you mean? We haven't even written the release on the last one. We're still working on Jonathan Allen and Ryan Kelly, and now we have to research Will Fries and the potential of Javon Hargrave, who at one point was a dog of all dogs ever to dog. But he's up there in age, and it bears some research. But Javon Hargrave knows how to play the game. He's another defensive lineman, and our general manager continues to do his thing.
The GM is crazy. The GM is crazy. The GM is crazy. I believe.
I can't recall a 2-day stretch like this for the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, Cam Bynum took the movie to Indy. We have a new center, a very fast corner, won a Super Bowl, and more money to spend during this free agency frenzy. A complete recap with your talkbacks transpires around 9:40 with Vikes Bites. If you got something on your mind, jump into that talkback machine. We will drop it in during the course of the radio show. Probably play markedly more back tomorrow, given we got a little jammed up today. How did we get jammed up today? Because we came in to celebrate the return of one of my favorites and somebody they needed like they needed to breathe, Byron Murphy Jr. Zero surprise within the Love Covenant. Sam Darnold's no longer on the team. Jonathan Allen was at the facility yesterday, and like when he left the facility, he didn't leave the state, which was key. because now his agent Blake Barrett's and the Minnesota Vikings have gotten together to get us Jonathan Allen, missed games last year with a pectoral injury, and Ryan Kelly, the center. Garrett Bradbury. What's next for Garrett Bradbury? That has yours truly's head spinning.
It does.
Feels like a trade. Feels like he will be. I mean, I ain't trying to play general manager here because we already got one, and he seems to be quite good.
The GM is crazy.
Hey.
The GM is crazy.
So I would imagine the Minnesota Vikings probably would try to trade Garrett Bradbury. I have no idea what they would get for Garrett Bradbury. Talkbacks. Hit the iHeart app, leave talkbacks, and how you think things are going for the old Minnesota Vikings in free agency. We got cash. It ain't bad having cash. Quick twitch. Sam to Seattle for 3, 110, and 55 guaranteed. My talkback would sound like this. Sam Darnold did many a good thing here, but his run will be defined by missing 5 touchdowns in one of the most pressure-packed regular season games, in the history of the National Football League. The protection was fine. The plays were sweet. The guys got open, and my man went 0 for 5. So is that a defining, it's a defining moment to a one-year era? Doesn't necessarily define who the man was during said era.
Right.
But Sam Darnold has a different form of pressure to face when he heads out Cappuccino Capital Way.
Pressure points.
Oh, we got pressure points all up in this thing. Your Darnold talkback 3-2. Your Darnold talkbacks can include, but should not be limited to, thoughts on the one season of the era, super special as it was, and what we are losing, and how excited we are to have J.J. McCarthy at the helm.
Yeah.
J.J. McCarthy at the helm. That part of the equation greatly excites me. Greatly excites Mad Producer. What also excites us is McCarthy absolutely, probably has to get preseason reps to prep for the regular season, making those games more compelling. That'd be a guess. All right. Byron Murphy Jr. has been re-signed. My talkback would be a little bit like, hey, guys, this had to happen, and I'm happy he's back in the chat. He's young and hitting the prime of his career. He's scrappy, doesn't make many mistakes. Byron Murphy Jr. is the kind of man and player who won't get fat and happy with the life-changing money, and instead will continue to improve as the bona fide leader in the cornerback room. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Defensive tackle Jonathan Allen. My talkback might sound like this. 3 down defensive lineman ain't easy to find. He's off a torn pec. Ooh, that cost him half the season, and I do have questions as to why things ended the way they did in Washington. But at 6'3", 300 pounds, he can play all over the defensive line and has a chance to be the best pass rushing defensive lineman the Minnesota Vikings have had around here since
The GM is crazy.
Tom Johnson.
I believe.
You remember the getting is good right now. Chris Finch for the Minnesota Timberwolves will join us around the corner. All this is courtesy of TimberTech and TimberTech.com. That's what's on deck. Finchy's around the corner. They never lose. Quasey's on fire right now. And we have plenty of time to talk about it at FM 100.3 KFAN. And it's great to be with you at Target Center. Indeed, Paul Allen joined by Kevin Finch. Kevin Lynch. After chatting with Chris Lynch, we now talk to Kevin Finch. It was the Chris Finch interview that threw me off. But welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, Chris, Paul Allen, how are you?
I'm good, PA. How about yourself?
Good. The game call got better after that intro, I promise you. I mean, I'm chatting with you about Rudy Gobert. I learn he's going to play, and I'm like, damn, that's pretty cool. He's going to play. Then Kevin Lynch and I start the broadcast, and I got Kevin Finch talking about Chris Lynch, and it got better after that. I promise you. In fact, here's what part of it sounded like, my brother. The Minnesota Timberwolves, after Blake Wesley hurls up a brick. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a high five for the Minnesota Timberwolves. They've won 5 consecutive games. They beat the San Antonio Spurs in quite convincing fashion. The final score, a season-high 141 points for the Timberwolves. They win 141-124. 5 in a row, buddy. That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, we're playing well. We've been playing well for a while. Even going back before all these injuries, PA, like we've really kind of found a good rhythm with the team. We got a great spirit right now. And through the injuries, the silver lining was these young guys, younger players on the roster really stepped up. Guys like Jaden McDaniels really stepped up as well. And just kept us right in the mix. We were able to tread water just enough so, we can hopefully catch fire here in the last 16 games.
Chris Finch, head coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves, weekly 9 to noon, courtesy of Second Harvest Heartland and twoharvest.org, along with prize picks. In the San Antonio game, Chris, how about that ball movement against the Spurs? Seriously, leading to a season-high 141, wide open shots all over the place, and 50% on 42 threes. That was nice.
Yeah, I think it all started with Anthony and Julius. They set the tone early. They got off the ball. They moved it. We moved ourselves around. I thought we played with great off-ball movement. I said this after the game. Aesthetically, if you're just watching basketball, it was probably our best, offensive performance, and statistically as well, and the numbers bear it out in a lot of ways. But if we're able to maintain that type of selflessness on and off the ball, we're going to be really, really hard to beat at that end of the floor.
Now, after the game, you made a proclamation. You said something that I don't believe I've heard all year when you said, quote, "They all have bought in," end quote. So all obviously is all encompassing. What does that mean?
Yeah, so listen, we made the big trade. Everyone knows it, and for a long time this season, beginning of the season, we were all trying to figure out, I think, individually, what the game was going to look like, what the season was going to look like for ourselves. Whether it be, Julius trying to find his role, Dante adjusting to a new team. We have some guys that are on contract years. These are things that are always going on in the background. Anthony's ascension. We don't have Cat now. It's quote unquote more Anthony's team. Playing with him, closing with him. All these things that you go through in a season, which are just normal, natural dynamics in the NBA on any given year. That's why every 1 year is not the same as the next. Even if you have the same roster, you just have guys at different points in their career, different points in their contract, different outside pressures working on them. And of course, you want to try to stem the tide from those pressures affecting you, but human nature is different. And then just learning to play with each other, and then the frustrations that grow with that, and all the anxiety that comes around that, all set against the expectation coming into the season of what we were able to do last year. So I say all that to say, we've gone through those growing pains. We've seen other guys step up. We've seen the young guys play. And it started really mid-December when we started to find this rhythm. And I attribute it to a lot of different things, but if I had to attribute to one thing, I would say it's the chemistry between Julius and Nas. Those two guys, when they would come into the game together, really played well off of each other. And that was the thing we had to figure out. It was how those two were going to play. And then Julius started to have a better chemistry with Rudy, on the back of that. And so that started to generate some really good offense, really good ball movement. And then, because we were struggling to score the ball early, just too much holding, too much ISO, too much your turn, my turn. And so, now I think everybody realizes we're healthy, we are deep, but that's only a benefit if we give ourselves, to the team 100%. And that's what you have to do when you're in playoff mode. And we've entered playoff mode a number of weeks ago.
That answer was spectacular. Thank you very much. The month Julius was out, what if anything was enlightening to him watching from afar?
And it's probably, a question obviously better answered by him, but just, in hearing him talk or answer this question slightly before, I'd say he realized, what his teammates were capable of, and you know, and with the ball movement, you know, what that looked like, and what he needed to do was to be that connector, and he was, you know, he's come in and done that at a really high level. I mean, last 3 games, he's pretty much flirted with a triple-double every single time. I mean, a rebound or an assist shy of a triple-double.
Right. And I mean, Julius always has been a good passer and always has been a good rebounder.
Yes.
But so, like specifically in the last 5, and you're 5-0 since he returned, what's leading to him to look pass every bit as much as look score?
Well, if the ball's in his hands a lot early, I think that's a really important distinction. He's getting the ball early in our offense, whether he's bringing it in transition or we're playing through him at the top of the floor or we're playing through him out of early post-ups. You know, and then he's such a good decision maker. He draws a lot of attention, and he's really done a good job of like turning that into wide open shots for his teammates. You know, shooting 50% from 3 only comes about if you're getting great looks, and you get those great looks when people are making the right play, getting off of it when they're in traffic. And both he and Anthony have done an outstanding job. And I think that's a chemistry that Julius has found a pretty good chemistry with Anthony early on. And I think Anthony now has also discovered a chemistry with Julius where he's like, okay, if I let Julius do some heavy lifting early in the offense, I might be able to benefit from it here. And that's what we see. And Julius still has the ability to create his own offense when we need him to.
Right.
But he's just been creating so much offense for his teammates that we haven't really needed him to do it. So.
Chris, how much does it help the overall offense when you start a game like you did the Spurs game, but other places too, with McDaniels leading the scoring punch? I mean, Jaden comes out full of fire and super tenacious and aggressive, and I would imagine the adversary obviously has to respect it, but then how does that play into the overall offense the rest of the game?
Yeah, I think it's really important. As we've seen over the last couple months through all the injuries and when needed Jaden to take this step forward in scoring and just having the ball in his hands more, he's done it. And we thought coming into the season this is going to be his next step. It was a little delayed, and I think it was delayed for all the reasons we talked about with when you asked me the question about being bought in. We had so many other dynamics that we were trying to figure out that, Jaden's next stage of offensive development probably wasn't a priority at that point in time, but through the injury cycle, he had to step up. He was ready to do it. He delivered. So now with everybody coming back, I'm very determined to keep Jaden at the center of what we're doing. So early on in the game, we called his number a few more times than we would have done 2 months ago, just to make sure that, he stays in a good rhythm. He stays as a serious threat. I don't want him to just kind of revert to the fifth option out there.
Here's Chris Finch, coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Victoria's 5 consecutive, 16 to go in the season at Denver tomorrow night. And this is courtesy of Second Harvest Heartland, 2harvest.org, and Prize Picks. Mike Conley, his last 3 have looked like last year. What are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, back to the Julius piece, like he's really benefiting from a lot of, Julius kickouts, playing well off of Julius. Those 2 guys have really found a good thing. We need Mike to be aggressive. Like, we've always been a better team when Mike Conley is aggressive, particularly when he comes out in that first 6 minutes to start the game, and he's looking for a shot. He realized now between Ant and Julius with the ball in their hands, his role isn't the classic point guard as much as it used to be. We still need him to do those things and have his pick and roll game with Rudy. But he can now just make shots. I mean, he shoots over 40% from 3. So we got to get him more shots. Julius and Ant have been doing that, and he's been starting fast, and it makes all the difference. It always has.
So, I mean, like moving forward with, we may go 10 deep and everybody has bought in, which I thought was really cool when I heard you say that. This is a game-by-game situation, obviously, but do you go like the regular 8 deep with the regular 8 and then kind of feel out who's best and why between, say, Clark, Shannon Jr., and Dillingham?
Yep, that's it. I mean, we're pretty committed that we're going to play 9/10 right now. And we have 3 different guys that give us 3 different things. And, that's a luxury now. And we've seen them be able to really help us. So we have every confidence in going whichever way we want to. And maybe in the first half we choose one of them, and in the second half we choose another. And their stint may be 5 or 6 minutes, and it may be 12 or 15 minutes. But, again, it's all part of being bought in right now. I'm sure they're going to want to play more minutes. Everybody wants to play more minutes. They've played more minutes and really produced. But when we're at full strength, we're just not able to play everybody all the minutes that they want to, and that's what being a good teammate is right now. But really bodes well for the future. I'll tell you that. We're excited about what they were able to do and what they will do for us.
As are we. So how did Rudy come out of the Spurs win after missing those 10 games? Was he feeling in tip-top shape the next morning?
Yeah, he looked good. Felt good. I think it's great to have him back. He led us in plus-minus, which always seems to happen somehow. And I think the only thing was just his timing was off. He got a couple early cheap fouls, just, being kind of baited into him with in and around the basket with some pump fakes. But that's probably just a little, eagerness and, timing issues. But that'll fade.
Just a few more here. Loving the chat with Chris Finch, coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves. At Denver tomorrow night, 16 to go. The Wolves have beaten Denver 13 of the last 20, including the playoffs. Jokic had that 30-20-20 within the last week. Holy cow. Only in the NBA ever to do it. He still turns it over a bunch and doesn't hit many threes, but he's on fire right now. Why have you guys had so much success at times against Nikola and his team?
Yeah, I mean, listen, every single time we play them, it feels like we have to solve a different problem. And our guys have been really good at being able to do that. We don't have a one game plan. You just can't play a player like that with one single game plan. We've traditionally had big, a number of skilled, big physical players who we can put on them. It's Rudy, Cat, Kyle Anderson, Nas, Julius, even Luka Garza will go out there and bang with them and for 4 or 5 minutes if you need to. So we've had a luxury of just throwing a lot of big bodies at them, which we can try to maybe wear them down over time. And then that's really the best answer I have for you, PA, because he's such an incredible player. I mean, that's that 30, 20, and 20. It's ridiculous if you think about it. He had 2 triple-doubles in the same game.
Right.
And he had the triple-double by the middle of the third quarter. And then he got another one all the way from there through overtime. So it's mind-boggling when you think about these things.
I know Denver doesn't play today, so therefore it has a day off. You guys have a couple of day offs. Maybe I'm reading into this too much, Coach, but Denver's coming off back-to-back games against Oklahoma City, and those are hard games, as you know. And they just had 2 in a row. They got the money last night and lost on Sunday. Does that factor into the equation tomorrow night?
I'm not sure it does. I mean, I can't speak for them really, but in some ways, all this scheduling takes its toll. I mean, I can only say to you, a week and a half ago or whatever it was, we lost a game in Utah that we probably shouldn't have lost, but you could just tell when we started the game, like we just didn't have the energy. Like there was nothing there.
Right.
And but they'll be up for us. We have such a familiarity with them. It always feels like a big game, oftentimes maybe even bigger than it actually is. But both teams are chasing a lot right now, and I think they'll be ready to go for sure.
And lastly, speaking of chasing, it feels like you've either been tied with or a half game behind Golden State for like a month trying to get out of that play-in clipping penalty. You've won 5 in a row. They've won 5 in a row. I mean, ever since Jimmy Butler joined the Warriors, he's good. He's really good. But they're proving to be tough to catch, right?
Yeah, they're a good team. You know, they got a lot. They got veterans. Adding Jimmy was, didn't necessarily think it was the perfect piece at the time, but watching him play, it might be the perfect move, for those guys. But there's always a lot of twists and turns down the stretch in these seasons. Unexpected things happen, so it's really hard to predict. We just got to focus on keep playing well, keep pushing hard. Our guys, like I said, have done a good job of entering playoff mode early, and I think that's resulted in games like you see the other night with the way that we played. We just have to keep repeating that as many times as we possibly can.
My man, great seeing you on Sunday night. Congratulations on the season high and the 5 in a row. Safe travels to the Mile High City, and we'll chat soon, okay?
Hey, appreciate it. And great having you on board the other day. I didn't get to hear it, but talking to you, it sounded like you had a lot of fun. So we appreciate that.
Yeah, it fit perfectly. I loved it. And there was so much support from Timberwolves staff, Sarah Perez, Aaron Freeman. I mean, it just goes so deep, man. But thank you very much for the time and the encouragement that day. And best of luck in Denver, okay?
All right, take care, PA. Thanks.
See you about Chris Finch, coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves, courtesy of Second Harvest Heartland, 2harvest.org, and Prize Picks. Let me see. What do we got here? J.J. Redick's pissed off. The Lakers lost to the awful Nets without LeBron. The Vikings, Jonathan Allen and Will Fries strengthen both lines here at ESPN.com. Javon Holland, a safety, goes to the New York Giants. I mean, during the course of the Finch chat, did we do anything? Because if we did, I wouldn't be surprised.
GM is crazy.
We got any new people in the Covenant up in this thing?
Not at the moment. The general manager, after a busy afternoon yesterday, some form of sleep, and an unbelievable morning, the GM has decided to take a breath. But more money to be used, more players to be had, more conversations ongoing.
Yeah.
It's going to be a fun free agency as it continues.
9 to noon, tapped into the second cell phone that belongs to Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell when he was having a private conversation with Matt LaFleur, head coach of the Green Bay Packers, talking about the players the Vikings have acquired during free agency. And Matt was heard to say,
"You lucky suckers."
And Ben Johnson was heard to say,
"You lucky suckers."
And Dan Campbell was heard to say,
"You lucky suckers."
And Roger Goodell was heard to say,
"You lucky suckers."
Say what?
GM is crazy.
9:37. You're listening to 9 to noon.
Vikes Bites.
Vikes Bites!
Indeed. Let's unfurl a complete wrap as to what we know now, what we've read now, and what we have confirmed now.
Yeah.
With Minnesota Vikings free agency. Like, who's out and who's in. And regarding who's in, there's a reason all those people are in. To which I'll hit on that momentarily. And we also have some talkbacks as promised that we're going to play this segment. And here's Nordo with Vikes Bites.
Yeah, indeed. Vikes Bites is brought to you by my buddy Matt and everybody at Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed Grass-Fed Beef. They are a Clearwater, Minnesota company. You can find them online. A box of meat will show up at your doorstep. That's sweet. Otherwise, local Coburns, Co-ops, and Kowalski's locations. They're proud sponsors of Gophers Athletics as well. The athletes themselves are eating Thousand Hills on the training table. So thank you, Thousand Hills. Let's start, first of all, just a little fan pulse before we get to who's out. I love this one.
Yeah, PA Nordo, this is Jonathan Midgie. I just got one thing to say. The GM is crazy.
Wow, that's good.
GM is crazy.
How about that? That was terrific.
Amen, brother.
More
Nice.
talkbacks along the way. If you want to get in on the conversation, it's simple. Use the free iHeartRadio app. You push that little microphone while you're listening to the fan channel. Record up to your best 30 seconds, maybe your best falsetto. How about that? And I will review them and play as many of them as I can. So out the door, We did hear yesterday, PA, you commented on it in the opening segment, that Sam Darnold is now a member of the Seattle Seahawks. He signs a 3-year, $100.5 million deal. I believe some incentives can push that up even another notch. But he gets a 3-year deal with the Seahawks. His 14-win season with the Purple gets him paid through those successes. Now, DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett have disappeared, and that offensive line might be actually worse than what the Minnesota Vikings were enduring in 2024 with Sam under center. So some things maybe to be fleshed out there. Good running game with Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker when he's healthy. But best of luck to Sam out in Seattle. To Cam Bynum. It's hard to say. Maybe the signing of Theo Jackson provided some foreshadowing to the future of the safety position. Cam Bynum, congratulations to him as well. He gets a 4-year, $60 million deal to be a safety for the Indianapolis Colts. So Cam Bynum, he's now going to be down there at Lucas Oil doing those sweet turnover celebrations for Indy.
Regarding Cam's money,
Oh my gosh, can you above average at that?
what's next?
Patrick Jones.
It was more than, it was a lot.
It was, 15 per for him. I don't have, and I apologize, I don't have the minutia in terms of how much of that 60 is guaranteed. That will come into play with who's in the building. There's a note that I want to get to there. But Cam Bynum, good luck to you, and thanks for the memories here in Minnesota.
Indeed, fantastic human being.
Patrick Jones, who was kind of Rip Van Patrick Jones for the first 3 seasons, awoke with a fury in 2024, PA. He starts out 2 sacks per game in the Giants and Niners game. Got a little quiet. I think he ended the season with 7. But Patrick Jones gets paid. The Carolina Panthers are like, you know what? We gave a 2-year deal to DJ Wanham a year ago. We're going to give a 2-year deal to Patrick Jones in 2025. He gets 2 years and 20 total million to go down to Carolina.
Quick twitch there. Undrafted Gabe Murphy, UCLA. They liked him last year. He plays the same position.
Yep.
He's cheaper. And you also have the draft in front of you. So there. Good luck to Patrick Jones, man. He was a valued contributor at times here.
And you're hoping for Dallas Turner as well, who played just 300 snaps his rookie season, that he would take that step up the rung of the ladder on the depth chart as well. How about Grant Udinski going down to the Jaguars, PA, and doing business down there? I believe now he is the offensive coordinator in Jacksonville. Well, what does he do? He just immediately goes and poaches 2 of our guys, PA. It's Nick Mullins, backup quarterback here, backup quarterback presumably behind Trevor Lawrence. He gets a 2-year, $6.5 million deal with the Jaguars. And then Johnny Munt.
Oh, I missed that one.
The catch and run, $2 and $5.5 million. Johnny Munt and Nick Mullins, both now members of Grant Udinski's Jacksonville Jaguars.
Interesting, quick twitch, while the defensive tackles and the running back stole the show at the Combine when it comes to a steam standpoint about the depth and just how rich it supposedly is. I also heard that about tight ends. Didn't hear it about the Tucker Kraft, Dalton Kincaid, Sam Laporta year, that was like you got to get, if you get some early, you're going to get some big timers.
Yeah.
But this supposedly has tight ends all up and down the draft who can help.
And so that is who's out at this point. Now, starting tomorrow, the team had, 24, 25 impending free agents. We know that they brought back Aaron Jones already. We know that they re-signed the punter. So there will be more names that are ultimately out officially tomorrow, but those are the names that have signed deals with other teams. So that's who's out the door. Well, with this revolving door, there's an inside as well, PA. Welcome to the Minnesota Vikings. I will start here while everyone...
No, I'd like to start here.
Okay.
Here's what happens when you have a quarterback on a rookie deal. Here's what happens when you have a quarterback on a rookie deal, because all of this would not transpire if you didn't have a quarterback that you're going to use on a rookie deal.
If you had paid Sam Darnold, right? I mean, that conversation into this period where will they, won't they?
Right.
And ultimately, it sounded like the Vikings offered him a $1 and $25 million deal.
No, I don't buy that.
You don't buy that happened?
I think it was a bad report, with all due respect to the person who put it out there.
Well, in the end, ultimately, that 3 and 100 wasn't going to work on the P&L statement for the Minnesota Minnesota Vikings if they wanted to afford these other players, who are as follows. As it happened yesterday, Isaiah Rodgers. Now, he's a cornerback out of Indianapolis originally, PA, 3 seasons there. Well, what happened in 2023? That would have been his 4th season. He didn't play. There was a gambling violation. I found some more information on that. He was betting prop bets, small wagers that ultimately wound up being in the low thousands, but he was betting on Colts games, PA. As a matter of fact, he hit a prop bet on the over on Jonathan Taylor's rushing yards.
Lucky.
In a game. He says that
what if it was on Prize Picks?
Is that legal?
I don't know. Indiana's a weird state, man.
Well, and that's
a weird state when you get like 5 miles away from St. Elmo's.
Yes, it does, doesn't it?
It's a little strange out there.
It's a little weird real quick. He says he was making those bets on behalf of his family who lived in Florida. Sports betting not legal down there. That doesn't make it okay. He assumed he wasn't going to get caught. He admitted to that. And he was suspended for the entire 2023. But he came back on a redemption tour, PA, with the Philadelphia Eagles. Wins a Super Bowl, made almost all the games. And this is a sneaky one, $2 and $15 million. Still wanting to learn more about this. I went full Rube off the air to you, and I said that this feels... I like
your take.
I think this is a Van Ginkel type of deal.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is if you dig into the metrics and everything, he was one of actually, despite being undersized, 5'10", 175, 180 pounds, somewhere in that area, he was sneakily one of the more productive and better man corners, specifically in the NFL a year ago. Why does that matter? Because that is exactly what Brian Flores wants to feast on. And Isaiah Rodgers has those attributes. And so, again, going down the road of Kwesi making these deals and guys potentially outperforming their contracts, you're projecting what guys can be in the future. Can Isaiah Rodgers, still pretty damn young, with a fresh opportunity here and some money in his pocket given the money we saw some other guys get, and then Byron Murphy, who we'll get to as well here, staying here. Mm-hmm. Isaiah Rodgers for 2 years, $15 million. Mm-hmm. And then if he's good, like that's a grand slam of a pickup. And so I'm really excited to learn more about Isaiah Rodgers, long story short.
My talk back would be 4.2-ish, 4.3-ish speed. Very scrappy at the line of scrimmage. And I wish it was here in 23 and like I had a conversation with him, because I'd be like,
why don't you give me half the money you were going to bet? Then we'll go out back, I'll kick you in the nuts, and we'll call it a day.
Never would have a problem.
Prize Picks, the leader in daily fantasy sports.
That's what I hear.
Ryan Kelly, longtime center of the Indianapolis Colts. 4-time Pro Bowler, most recently, speaking of 2023, that was his last Pro Bowl, PA. Mm-hmm. He signed a 2-year, $18 million deal, and 9 of it's guaranteed. So that's the first guy we got from the Colts. That's Ryan Kelly. Well, actually, Isaiah Rodgers started his career with the Colts. Ryan Kelly never left. Interesting thing, Ryan Kelly, I think he only played 10 games last year. Another interesting aspect of this, Ryan Kelly has never played any position in NFL games that was not center. So I was looking into it. A couple years ago, he was doing off-season work at right guard.
Oh, geez.
And I forget what the name, it's Pinner. There was another guy who was showing promise at center after Kelly had missed some games. So they're trying to see, okay, maybe Kelly can transition to guard. This new guy might have what it takes at center. Well, I guess he didn't.
Interesting.
They put Kelly back in the mix. He was a Pro Bowler in 2023. Yeah. Dinged up last year. But you slot him in at center. Well, now Garrett Bradbury with 1 year and about $6 million left on this 1 year contract, 1 year, 6 and change, I think.
Right.
That creates, well, I mean, you can't have two guys playing that spot. So Bradbury drafted here 2019, 1 year left on the deal. If they were to move him, I think there's somewhere between $3 and $4 million that can be saved. Yeah. You have Garrett Bradbury, who did play guard in college before transitioning to center, I think his final year or two at NC State. Mm-hmm. But how much does that matter now that he's been playing center in the NFL for so long? That would be the first really interesting decision spot for the Purple.
The guess here, as I mentioned in the opening segment, is the Minnesota Vikings will attempt to trade Garrett Bradbury. And if that's the case, hopefully they can get a decent pick. Hopefully Garrett lands somewhere he likes. I'm quite fond of him, and he always was better than people thought during his run here. It's just there were some magnified moments, that you would see on social media or during games where he got pushed back, and that's not in totality who he was. Just asked all the quarterbacks with whom he's played. Now, quickly talk back on former Indy center Ryan Kelly. Rough 24 for Ryan Kelly. All right, this is just being straight. Rough 2024 for him. Into the season, the Colts rejected a contract extension. Then they drafted a center. Then Kelly hurt his neck, missed 2 games, came back, left in his return game against the Titans with a calf. 3 games later, he was all done for the season due to a lingering knee injury.
Jeez.
So other than that, Miss Lincoln, how was the play? From a size standpoint, I think he's an inch taller than Bradbury, weighs about 7 to 10 pounds more than Bradbury.
Well, I was talking to somebody about that, too, because Bradbury is listed at 6'3", 300.
Yeah.
I've heard from, some people kind of, there's no chance he plays in season at 300 pounds.
Right.
He might be a little bit lighter.
Right, just like there's probably minimal chance Kelly plays in season at 307. So I minus 10-ish for both of them. You know what I mean?
Sure, yeah. Also added to the mix, Jonathan Allen. I don't have the terms of this outside of the 3 and 60.
Same.
Jonathan Allen released from the Washington Commanders. He does sign a contract, came here yesterday to visit the team. This is unique because he was released. He is not an impending free agent. And so therefore, for Vikings fans paying attention, what's up with the comp pick formula and all of that? Jonathan Allen, he does not factor into that. So that's not going to work against them from a compensation pick standpoint.
Because he was cut.
Because he was released, yeah.
Hey, nice work on that, brother.
So I don't know what the terms of it are, but of course, 30-year-old longtime defensive tackle by the Commanders. And I think there was some crossover when Kevin O'Connell was working the offense in Washington. So they're familiar with each other.
Good point.
And, of course,
Allen was drafted in 17. O'Connell was there in 19 and 20.
So you have Jonathan Allen now. He adds to the mix. You were losing Jerry Tillery and at least one other name that is escaping me at the moment on the defensive line. I think Jonathan Bullard is a free agent. Curious to see maybe if they try to bring him back and such. But I know Jerry Tillery will not be part of the roster as the league opens tomorrow. Now, additionally to that, it was a busy morning. Jonathan Allen announced 2 hours ago, well, how about Will Fries? Will Fries, Ryan Kelly's teammate, now a member of the Minnesota Vikings, played primarily right guard, I believe, for the Colts. 5 years, $88 million is the contract for him, so 17 and change on the average. Don't have the guaranteed in front of my face at the moment. So Will Fries, an answer to the offensive line problem. You can see the theme getting bigger and beefier on the interior of both the offense and defensive lines. Which brings me to this. Byron Murphy, we heard about the news late last night, 3 and 66. He is staying here. So he did not leave the Covenant. He's going to stay here for 3 and 66. Initially, that number kind of popped. I mean, it was just wow, that's a big number. As you saw Carlton Davis for 20, you saw Charvarius Ward for 20, and then you saw even DJ Reed go for 16 apiece to the Kitties. Only 35 of it is guaranteed. So you start breaking things down and such. The contract starts looking really smart, not only for the Vikings financially, but it looks good for Byron with a chance at 27. He might, if he outperforms this thing, if he continues to ascend, he's going to have a chance at another nice payday in just a few years. So good for Byron and good for the Vikings to keep Byron around. Best corner on the team a year ago. Looks to potentially be that way again.
And Byron the man and Byron the player, I feel very, very confident and convicted in saying this is not one of the fat and happy people of the universe where it's like, okay, I'm going to settle in and just get fat and happy and be mediocre the rest of my life because I got all this cash. This will matter to Byron. Byron will look to be the guy that gets scrappier. And they had to re-sign him. Just like I said last week, I didn't see any way around them not getting him unless you get Carlton Davis and or DJ Reed and Isaiah Rodgers. And now all of a sudden you don't have enough money for one of those offensive linemen. So it's what you can do when you don't have to pay a quarterback an exponential amount of money is unfurling right before our very eyes.
I got two more quick ones for you here. One is breaking. Javon Hargrave, longtime interior pass rusher.
I got a breaking one for you, too.
He's going to be, once the league, he's still a member of the Niners, so no deal or numbers have been released, but the report is that once he's officially released by the Niners tomorrow, league year begins, he will be signing a deal with the Vikings. What does that look like? He's 32.
Yeah.
And so that's probably maybe a shorter term bit.
Yeah.
I just saw this from Adam Schefter 4 minutes ago. Maybe you saw the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel Jones.
Yeah, that sucks.
Daniel Jones is finalizing a $14 million deal with the Indianapolis Colts.
Oh, geez.
And so he will not be returning to the Minnesota Vikings. We'll talk more about this. I know we're behind it with Ben Gessling in studio around the corner. Felt to me simultaneously that I wanted him back. That's best for the Vikings. It feels like Daniel Jones may have a better opportunity given how wonky the situation has been the first 2 years with Anthony Richardson in Indianapolis. Maybe that played into his decision wanting to play football again, that he chose the Colts.
And the Minnesota Vikings, as we've shared before, like Brett Rippon more than people know. So Brett Rippon, I'd be shocked if he's not the backup quarterback. But we can mix that up with Ben Gessling. The scribe is incredibly busy, and things are hot right now, and he's making time for 9 to noon, and we greatly appreciate it. Ben Gessling, who covers the Vikings for the Star Tribune, in studio around the corner. If you left some of those talkbacks, maybe we'll play some back over the next couple of segments. But we have plenty of time today, tomorrow, and quite honestly, the rest of our lives to listen to them. Thank you very much for listening to 9 to Noon. Excellent work with the Who's In, Who's Out with Vikes Bites by Nordo. And we'll be right back.